Susie Peak with 12 of these towers up there. How about airplanes and that type of thing? Are we going to see nice bright lights too, so that we all feel like we live on a runway?
Apparently the FAA has required the developer to file a plan, which was not done. That's a flight path. It is a very serious issue, and whether or not wind turbines could be placed up there will, I guess, ultimately be decided by the FAA. But you're correct. Yes, they talk about not putting lights on each one, but that say every sixth one would be lit, and they're blinking lights. So it is a dramatic change in the landscape, both in the daytime and at night, and apparently quite a risk for pilots. From what I've been hearing, the airport is quite concerned about that particular set of turbines.
It seems like they would want to, be doing something about it also.
I believe that there is all of a sudden some activity on the part of the FAA. They seem to have just awakened to this project in the last week. And because the wind monitoring towers that are being put up are under 200 feet, they're not required to be lighted, and so this developer did not contact the FAA at all. And so now they're being asked to submit an application. And that was what was in the letter that they received yesterday.
And I just wanted to comment on his comment that...
You're a pilot?
Yes, I am. There's actually already the wreckage of an aircraft on Susie's Peak without the hazard of a wind tower. So, I mean, it goes without saying that it's low clouds, visibility, pilots are directed towards Susie's Peak. Justin is also a pilot. He pointed out that it's a non-standard traffic pattern at Rutland because of the mountains to the east. So it automatically pushes everybody to the west. And when you set up for approaches in low clouds, IFR conditions, instrument, you're asking for trouble. And again, there's already the wreckage of an airplane up there, and the pilot did not survive. And that's, again, without the hazard of a wind tower. So.
My name is Stan Shapiro. I'm a cardiologist here in Rutland. We need the state of Vermont, either through its Department of Public Health or through some agency, to take an active role in protecting the health of the people of the state of Vermont. There is very sufficient evidence which is out there regarding the effects of sleep disturbance on cardiovascular disease. We have references in the back table. I encourage everybody to pick that up and take a look at it and read it. It's validated, peer-reviewed literature coming out of Harvard University. Somebody has to be responsible, ultimately, to protect the people that live within 2 miles or 3 miles from the medical effects that can occur with these wind turbines. Someone will have to be accountable. Her Hanson White and his Enel Corporation backers need to know that they have a great potential for doing harm and causing morbidity and mortality to be increased. Those risks are real. Someone needs to be accountable. The Public Service Board needs to listen carefully to medical testimony so that when the time comes, they realize that if they do give approval to this project, if they do permit it, that they will be complicit with causing harm to people. We really need, in this community, to stand up and tell them no. And I stand here as a cardiologist and as a physician that sleep disturbance will cause great harm to anyone. And if anyone has any doubt about it, I suggest what you do is spend the night with me on call when I don't get sleep and I'm up all night. I will invite you, I will invite anyone from the Rutland Herald to see what it's like to be up all night and not sleeping. And so if we ignore this fact, we will be party to causing harm.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions you have to hear?
Have there been any studies
studies done on the effects of wildlife on mountain top areas. That's a question that I asked Rick. Rick, do you want to answer that?
Could you repeat it on that?
Have there been any studies on the effects of wildlife? And I think she's not just meaning the birds and the bats, but deer and turkey and all that.
The effects of noise on wildlife?
The turbine noise, yes.
That's really an understudied field. We haven't really looked at, there's been a few studies in wilderness areas.
What do you find, what do you hear from people that you've talked to about the wildlife?
Okay, now, anecdotally, I've talked to people who claim that when the turbines run, the deer leave. One of my clients in New York bought a home located in an area where wild turkey congregated. And he said that after the wind turbines were turned on, he hasn't seen a turkey. Some of the farmers that I've talked to have claimed that their animals respond to the noise by not eating. And there's anecdotal information that it affects area protection. But all of this right here is challenged by the wind industry, claiming they've done studies and there's no effect. What we need is good independent research.
Add to this statement that's just been made, has Fish and Game been made aware of what's happening here? Should they be concerned?
The federal government's Fish and Wildlife Services, Forestry, I have been told to pave the way for wind turbines. That was under the previous administration. The order went out that previous protections, for example, on bald eagles and other endangered species were not to be enforced when wind turbines were erected.
And I think in the state of Vermont, the Agency of Natural Resources has been tremendously downsized. They're very short-staffed. I think that the staff people care. I don't know how much ability they have to carry out their jobs now. So that's another problem. Other questions? Emerson.
You might as well give it to me.
No, I'm not going to give it to you.
Okay, man.
It's my job. You have to hold close your mouth.
Yeah. I am kind of entranced by the fact that all these windmills look alike. And if you read anything, say Putnam's book, Power from the Wind, in which he tells how he designed pretty much by himself the old turbine on Grandpa's Knob. There was a lot of the windmills that didn't look at all like that. Some of them had, for instance, a vertical shaft. And I think a lot of the problems which we get from having a horizontal shaft so that the blades sweep out this huge area, I think some of these problems, well, at least we might have a different set of problems. But it strikes me that they settled on a particular design all too soon. And this is not flexible, and I think that the very fact that one has to have a gearbox in there, that's not the best way to do it. There are other ways of changing electrical speeds, but...
And we are seeing some, at least with smaller wind turbines, some real breakthroughs in technology where they're able to harness much lower speeds of wind and not have them stick up so high. There's some real hope on the horizon, I think, for technology. Any other questions? Because I think people are beginning to get tired, and I think we've gotten to, okay.
I just point out, they are also built, I don't know if you're aware of this, but
Very large industrial wind turbines are being built with direct drive systems that don't require a huge gearbox.
Mm-hmm.
So they can still be big.
They can still be big and still
make advances.
Well, I want to thank you all for coming tonight. We have a sign-up sheet in back, and feel free to leave your contact information. It would be most helpful, though, if you tell us what you're interested in, or feel free to send me an email following up. This is a people's organization, and we are here to serve your interests and help protect public health and the environment. So thank you all for coming tonight.